All right, and welcome to another episode of Real Talk for Monday, February 5th, 2024. I'm your host, Ryan Matthews, here with Jeffrey Klein, and our guest today, Chad Smith with VIP Mortgage. We just wanted to chat and get kind of your update on the market, I guess, 5 weeks into the year of 2024. What do you see? And I know we had Jerome Powell on 60 Minutes last night. Maybe not have been the best news, but let's kind of dissect it and see what we got going.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me, and happy to be here and hanging. And yeah, so what we're seeing in 2024, obviously, there's been a lot of built up demand and a lot of people that are excited to get moving, and we are starting to see things moving in the right direction, right? So the Fed is just hyper fixated on these inflation numbers, right? And they're trying to get the inflation down, which is good for all of us, right? We want inflation to be under control. We just have to be a little patient. Us on the front lines, especially in the real estate industry, are kind of feeling the effects of his waiting. We're feeling it the worst, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, he was on 60 Minutes last night, kind of dropped a little bombshell. Bond markets kind of reacting this morning. But just to summarize it up on a high level, what's going on is he keeps using the word confident, right? Like he wants to be more confident. He wants to be confident that what they're trying to do is going to get done. And if they start dropping rates too soon, he's afraid that we may, lose sight of the target numbers on the inflation. So what we saw, we were all hoping that when they meet in March, we could potentially see the first rate cut. That is now off the table. That's now getting bumped towards May, right? So now that's kind of, we're just rolling with the punches. But now, okay, we were close to March, now May. But what we need to keep in mind is we don't have to wait until May when they actually do the cut. Our mortgage rates are based off of the expectations of what's going to happen in these meetings. So what I'm trying to say with clients is like, hey, they're always ahead of the game. So we could start seeing rates go down more in March as soon as we have confidence that May cut is coming, right? So it's based on those expectations will help our clients more. So kind of a bummer. We're all excited for it to get going in March, but it'll be May before we know it. And what we need to just keep in mind is the pros and cons of every market, right? And we all know here that as soon as the rates do come down into the low sixes or maybe even some high fives on some of the government loans, it's going to be chaos, right? We're going to have a whole bunch of buyers that have just been sitting there just kind of foaming at the mouth, ready to get in the game. And so what I'm trying to tell my clients is like, right now, not to be cliche, but like right now is the best time. And not just because I want to get paid or you guys want to get paid. It's like, no, get in there while you're not in that multiple offer situation, right? Which we're already starting to see in some certain price points, or if the house is completely dialed. But It's more like, get in there now. We're the good news is we are seeing the inventory. We're seeing every day a couple hundred homes hitting the market, right? Like that's huge. That's step one is right. We need more inventory, more options. And then that's going to allow these buyers to, get in there and do like a feel good, transaction where you can actually negotiate a little bit. There's some back and forth. You're not giving away everything, right? You're not waiving inspections and appraisals, and like that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good for our clients, and so that's the kind of the beat that I'm trying to hammer home with our clients is like, get in there now. Yeah, the rates are high, right? Your monthly payment, but that's not forever, right? No one of our clients, or especially in our age, are going to hang on to this mortgage for 30 years, right? They're either going to sell, right? I mean, I think average person, someone's in home is for 10 years, but most likely within the next couple of years, we're going to be in a lower rate environment that would make sense to refinance. So it's like, we just got to keep having that conversation. It's like, if you love the home, right? If this is it, get it now, and then we could take care of the rate down the road. It may be a year. I mean, it may be sooner, right? I mean, we don't know, but like, that's kind of what we're pushing is like, get in there now while the competition is less, because a lot of people are still scared, right? And so, I feel for our clients that are going to wait, right? But some people just need that assurance, and we can't stop them from waiting, but like, it's going to get kind of nasty when all of a sudden 10 people want the same house, right? So
Hey,
Exactly.
Jed, let me ask you, are you
Go
guys
ahead.
seeing, or did you see an increase in applications at the start of the year?
Yeah, we're getting some more. I'd say there's some more buzz going, right? I wish I could say I have a whole bunch in escrow. That's not the truth. But what's starting to happen is people are coming out, right? People I haven't heard from. Hey, whether they saw a headline or they're just getting that itch, right? Like there are people coming out and they're getting ready. They're like, this is a year, like, when, because regardless of rates or what's going on, people are still having kids. People are still getting married, right? People are still realizing, like, it's, I don't know if you guys have been in like a rental situation, but like it's an uneasy feeling knowing like how long are we going to be here? Like my kids just made friends with the neighbors, or like we're really liking this school. Like as a parent, when you're laying down, like that's nerve wracking to know. Like I don't know how long I'm gonna be here. My landlord may just come and say, hey, you got to go. Like I'm selling, right? So it's like regardless of the rate, regardless of what's going on, people want to own a home, right? And that'll never stop, right? Is that being able to create those memories, right? Being able to do the height chart on the, on the door with the kids and like staying somewhere for a long time. That has value. Like, and I think that's what's going to be our saving grace in this industry is that people are always going to want a home, right? Not just a house. Like we're here, we're temporary, we're not putting anything on the walls. Like there's something about having a home, right? And
Yeah.
creating that. And I think that everybody that's been renting this last couple of years, they're craving that. They're starving for that. They want to put their roots down, right? They want to, start that, and that's what's keeping it going. And that's why people are still doing transactions, even when the rates were in the eights. People were still buying, not as many, right?
Mhm.
But what makes me feel good and optimistic is that we're seeing listings come on, right? And that's more people are willing to sell. And for a while there, we were just handcuffed, right? People did not want to sell because they had such a good rate, or they didn't want to deal with they couldn't go find anything because there's no inventory. But now, as more inventory is coming on, that's going to get some of these sellers off the fence, which will help you guys hopefully and get some new listings and
Mhm.
then turn those into new move up buyers, right? They need that extra bedroom, or maybe they need a guest, a casita. They got their parents coming to live with, whatever it may be. um, yeah, I'm very optimistic that we're going to start rolling with that in 2024, and hopefully get those transactions up, because 2023 was pretty rough.
It's pretty
Yeah.
tight. That's what we've
Yeah,
been seeing a lot with listing agents when we've been in showings the last couple of weeks. They've been talking. There's a very much need based where family dynamics are changing. We had one listing agent who said, is they family dynamic. They wanted their daughter closer in the house, and so they needed a house that better suited their needs. Um, what are you seeing as far as applications? Like 5 weeks in, has it been pretty steady, like increase, or
yeah,
what have you been seeing on that?
yeah. I think so. Our branch manager sent out an email last week. We monitor credit pools, right? That means people that are, hey, whether it be they want to get into the game, right? And we saw like a 40% increase in credit pools. Um, Now December is usually pretty low, right? So, but that's a lot of people that are just like, hey, let us get through the holidays, and then we want to, get in the game. So, um, yeah, we are starting to feel, and we were building on some of that momentum, and now we just took a couple blows last week with the strong jobs report, and you know, and now was saying, hey, pausing on the rate, cut. But the good news is, and we all have to keep in mind, the bleeding has stopped. They will not be increasing rates, at all this year, So that, I think that's starting to give some peace to some buyers. Like, okay, like, now it's just our job to spread that word and say, hey, get in, don't wait when everyone else is waiting. Now's your chance to get in line, right? Is like getting the HOV lane or whatever, the fast pass to to the
Home
contract.
ownership.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And that's what we talked a couple weeks ago, that this first quarter may be the cheapest time to buy all year. And I still believe that maybe there's maybe a little bit more time. But again, that the supply is still not there and the demand continues to remain high. So it seems like all of that still is in play, regardless of what the Fed's going to do. It just might change the timing of it.
I think that's the message, right? It's like and people are starting to get it, right? But it takes us a while to process, right? And then to realize, but like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Like, and it almost sometimes it just takes that buyer to go and lose a deal in a multiple offer situation, right? Or to fall in love with something and not get it, right? To like say like, okay, this is real. Like, we gotta get in the game, and I don't know.
Exactly.
So to echo your point, I think the way that I've been seeing a lot of buyers that I talked to last year that are starting to come back around, it's kind of like the sticker shock wore off, right?
Yep.
It's like they were scared of the rates. Now all of a sudden the rates have stabilized, and they understand that the rates are definitely not as low as they were 2-3 years ago. But they realize like, hey, if we want to buy something, like this is just going to be the reality. There's no changing it. There's no waiting for things to go up and down. Things have been stable for a while. It's time to go. At least that's what I've been seeing.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I heard somebody talking about like the psychology of it all, but when you first hear 8%, like it's so shocking, right? First, for us that haven't lived through that before, and especially coming from the 2 and 3% environment. But then you hear it over and over, and then you hear 7 and 7, then all of a sudden it's like, it's not bad. And now all of a sudden, like we're locking at 6.99, and people are like, oh my gosh, that's a great rate, right? But like, interesting the psychology of it. Like just a couple years ago, that would have been, if I told somebody the rate was 6.99, they would have fallen out of their chair. But now it's like, okay, we've had a couple years to digest it and to realize like, okay, that is what it is. Like now we just got to figure out how to do it, right? And maybe give up on some other things, but again, home is I feel like the most important thing in everybody's mind. And like you can make it work to get the mortgage, sacrificing other things. And again, I'm just temporarily, and I think we do a VIP mortgage, and I know a lot of other lenders are doing it too, to help buyers get off the fence, is saying, hey, if rates go down within the first 2 years after you close a transaction with us, we're going to cover all the costs on a refi, right? So that takes out, that like, hey, okay, cool. So now I just know I call you back after, and it makes sense. Boom, we lower your rate, lower your payment, hopefully a couple $100 and they don't pay for any of the lender fees on that.
Nice.
That's a huge help because that provides that security in the loan side and the money side that people also want, that security and certainty in their home. So it's such a great service. Do you think that, so thinking back to people, if you talk to people who bought at a 2 or 3% rate a couple years ago, it's like, man, you bought so good. And people feel like there's some FOMO. Do you think that people that don't buy right now before things kind of get crazy, do you think we're going to look forward in a year and people are going to think the same way? Like, man, I totally should have done it. I could have done it and I missed out again. Do you think that we're going to see something similar in a year from now?
Yeah. You mean to the people that don't buy right now and wait? Or yeah, for sure. Because think about like a year ago when everyone's like, oh, I'm waiting. Like, I mean, those people have some serious FOMO, right? I mean, I hate to say it, but that was it. The prices have gone up and the rates have gone up. So now they got hit on both sides, right? And it's like, what people are thinking that the values are just going to crash, but they're just not, right? Like values are they're continuing to go up. Arizona has proven to be an amazing place to live. And it's just not saying that we're turning into California, but in a way, I mean, especially some of the price points that you guys are looking at. I mean, look at this. We have more homes now over 2 million than we've ever had, right? And it's just like,
can I hit you with an interesting stat about that?
Yeah.
So in the last, since 2015, on average, there was like, I think it's 2015 or 2017, 10 homes over $10 million sold. No, it was 3 homes over $10 million that sold that year, right? My first year in real estate. Last year, we were on pace to do 3 a month over 10 million. We ended up finishing around 27, so just about 2.5 a month. That's still insane to me that, I mean, Arizona, $10 million houses, that's wild. But to your point, I mean, it is proving to be a really good place to live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think with just, exactly. That demand alone will just continue to purchase price. And unfortunately, and I think that's why the Fed is being really careful with this, is like if they lower too fast, it actually could hurt all of us, because what's going to happen is the values are going to just skyrocket again, right? And then now we're dealing with appraisals not matching the purchase price, right? And all the stuff that comes with that, because you got 3-4 people battling for the same house. that price is just going to keep going, right? And it's like,
Right.
so it's a fine line. Like, yes, I want rates to be low, and I want all of our clients to be happy, and most importantly, be able to afford their home, right? And not just be completely paycheck to paycheck because their mortgage is so high. But at the same time, if those rates get too low, there's that negative effect, right? Where now these little tract homes are, $600,000-$700,000.
Yeah.
That's
And that's what
crazy.
we sold. I sold in 2021, and we saw that where, I mean, it just like tract homes. Yeah,
Yep.
we're over one in my neighborhood sold for over 650, and it was like, there's no way it didn't make any sense at that time. So
For sure.
I told you guys that I lived in Casa Grande, right? And I went through the crash, and I watched these $500,000 or $600,000 new builds before the crash that were selling for, like, the model homes were selling for less than 200 grand, right? And they're 5,000 square foot travertine floors, beautiful homes, right? And now it's like home values are back up at that price, but they never came back down. People, I think, were anticipating, $30,000 homes in Maricopa again, where you pick up 3 of them for 100 grand. And now you've got some great rentals, but that didn't happen. And I don't think it, knock on wood, but I think it would take a lot to get it back to there. Even with the high interest rate market, I mean, we saw, was appreciation last year like 7% or something like that?
I think it was right about 10, maybe just a little under from what I remember.
I wanted to undershoot just to be, I'd rather be on the low end of that. So between 7 and 10%, right? And so with 8% interest rates, that's incredible.
Yeah, and thankfully it came back down because we were at 30 the prior 2 years, which was just absolutely insane. That was completely unsustainable. So we're keeping it back closer to like 5 to 10 is where we need to be.
Yeah, I think even at 5%, that's super healthy. And I mean, like, what other investment, like, to get in and, just to always have that. Not that your home should always be an investment, but, it does help a lot of buyers get off the fence from, do I rent or do I own? If they know that, hey, this will continue to go up over time, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Excellent. Well, last thoughts, Chad, if you had one thing that you could tell a perfect client just going into this year, any piece of advice that you could give or leave that you'd want to say?
One piece of advice. I would say, I mean, it's different. So if you're an investor, or let's say for the person that's buying as a primary residence, right? They're buying a home. I would say try to block out, right, all the outside noise and all the water cooler talk about what your coworker got and like that, the different rates, and just really think, is this, do you love this home, right? And I try to, like, don't treat your primary residence as an investment, but like, what are all the other factors, right? Does this fill you up? Like, does the location, the surroundings, or if you have kids, is it the schools? But like, following your heart and gut and not trying to think about all the money side of it, right? Those end up being the most happy clients. And I don't know if that works out for advice, but
I think that's perfect. Yeah, I think that's great advice. So
awesome. Because I think a lot of people, right? I mean, you hear your friends are talking, and people think, they got a better deal than I did, or I'm paying way more than they, and it starts to make them second guess their self, right? And their gut, right? But it's just like, this is your home, like, and just look at it like, it's not just a quick little investment or a little flip. But on the investment side, that's completely different. That's a whole nother conversation. But
yeah, I think that's great because blocking out anything else that people are saying, because at the end of the day, it's your home and not anybody else's, and finding what works for you regardless of anything else. I think that's fantastic advice.
Yeah, agreed.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Well, a huge thanks for joining us today. I think it was great. I think it's great information, and can't wait to have you back and talk more about the market and just life in general.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks for going on.
Thanks for watching today. And again, if you like these updates, we come every Monday for you with them, just to give you the kind of the state of the market. And like and subscribe, and you'll see exactly when the next one comes out.